Hello everyone, I'm Annie Gibbins and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success, and what they have learnt along the way. Hello everybody and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. Today I have an absolutely gorgeous guest called Pauliana Lara, and she's an attorney from California who has raised two children as well. And we're going to be talking about time management. How do we have it all? What does it mean to have it all? And do we need to have it all? Or do we need to have the right balance for ourselves? And we as mums often put, crazy pressures on ourselves. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking, how does that work for a top attorney while raising children? How does it work for me as a mum of five, managing multiple businesses? I'm really looking forward to just a really candid conversation with Pauliana today to actually start helping you understand the normal pressures and concerns that women in different opposite sides of the world have equally, and how we can do better for women in the future. Welcome to the program, Pauliana.
Thank you so much, Annie. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and to share whatever I can to help your audience with their journey.
Oh, look, I'm thrilled to have you on my program. And I'm just wondering, so tell the listeners at the moment, what is it like to be an attorney in the US? So a female attorney while raising a couple of teenagers, what does your life look like? Is it 24/7?
So it's very full, and it's very full of. It's stressful.
Yeah.
It's maddening. Yet I'm learning, and I have accomplished certain methods and techniques to make it manageable and rewarding. I think the key is that as stressful as it is, and the different careers that can plug in, you could be a dentist, you could be an accountant, you could be an entrepreneur. The level of stress and anxiety and sheer chaos applies in all different careers.
Yes.
But so does motherhood. You don't stop being a woman because you decide to be a professional.
Yes. Exactly.
So, the struggles that I went through apply to across the board to many young women who, have established a career or who are set on their path, and then comes a whole new journey of motherhood. So I went through that, and it was not fun and it was not easy, but I've come through on the other side.
Okay. So I have so many things to chat about you today. First of all, let's stay on where you are now before we unpack the journey. Many people would be thinking, us busy mums and people just sort of doing their roles. They're thinking, oh my gosh, I think of a lawyer, I think of an attorney, and a really high-powered one, and I'm thinking that's just so many hours and so much preparation. What sort of hour weeks do you do to start off?
So I'm going to answer your question. And so the first takeaway that I want to share with your audience is I encourage all women to have a better relationship with the concept of time.
Yes.
And I literally mean the time. It used to be a clock, but I think now people all rely on their cell phone to know what time is it. I don't even know if people wear watches anymore, because now we're just looking at our phone. What time is it? I think women put a higher expectation on them. Constantly go, go, go. And the first thing that I would encourage your listeners and whoever else comes across this podcast is have a better relationship with time. So literally set the time that you are going to be focusing, working, producing in whatever your career is. For example, most hearings in Los Angeles start at 8:30.
Right.
So I'm ready, reviewing a file, getting ready to, now everything is virtual because the courthouses are still, a lot of them are closed, and people don't want to be going to courthouses, and they're trying to do the social distancing, etc. So by 8 o'clock, I'm behind a computer, reviewing a file, and I'm getting ready for a hearing. What makes that interesting is it's the same time my children are logging on to their remote learning.
Yes.
So it's a lot of fun at my house between 8 and about 8:20, because my son starts at 9, my daughter starts at 8:20, and most mornings I have a hearing at 8:30.
Wow. Okay.
Make sure everybody's up, dressed, brushed, groomed, have eaten, and that everybody's technology is working. You know, two days ago, we had a power outage, and my son had a math test, and I had a hearing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like, but I had to just breathe and say, okay, get daughter plugged in, get son on his Zoom with his teacher on his cell phone, because we don't need electricity for the cell phone. And thank goodness everybody had full charge. And then I had to do my hearing with my cell phone. Okay. So, you know, we got through and we got power back on around 11 o'clock, and then everybody could breathe. But most women, I think, have this expectation that most of us put on ourselves, that we constantly have to be connected to our job. Otherwise, we're less than, we're not doing as much as we can. So we don't have a concept of when we're an attorney, a dentist, a CPA, a baker, an entrepreneur, and then when we can stop being that and be a mom, a friend, a daughter, a wife, because we want to prove not just to ourselves, but to the world, to our clients, to society, to our boss, that as a mother, I can still do it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's truth to that, but you have to be able to do it all in a way that you're highly productive as an entrepreneur, an employee, whatever it is you're doing as a profession, but you have to be able to also enjoy being a mother and enjoy the beauty that comes with having children. And most of us don't know how to shut that off. So I used to be the mom taking calls at baseball games.
Yeah.
I used to be the mom typing, you know, a brief at 7 o'clock at night while my kids wanted to watch TV, or, you know, and I did that for a couple years, and then I started not feeling good about myself.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, no more. So to get back to your question with respect to what does a day look like, you have to separate your day into the two spheres. And some of us have multiple spheres. It's not just professional
work and mum time, it's you time as well. It's you as a friend, as a daughter, as, you know, as yourself.
You know, absolutely. That's one thing that I speak on. You know, I'm transitioning into public speaking because I really believe that my journey could be so helpful and so resourceful to young women who I didn't have a mentor. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. You know, she was there for everything. She picked us up, she drove us, she did everything. And so I really didn't have somebody to look to see how we do those boundaries and how we have that relationship with time. And so one of the things that I speak on is how important the you time is.
Yeah.
Because when you're a crazy woman trying to build your business, trying to be a good mom, and at midnight you're logging back on to check emails, eventually it catches up to you.
Exactly.
And then there are health consequences. People have physical and mental health issues that they deal with, because at some point you just add and add and add and add, and then you break.
Yeah.
And then you're no good. I mean, either as an employee, as a business owner, as a whatever you're doing professionally. And I don't think that that's a good message to send to your children too.
Oh, I think that's such a good message, and one that I certainly align with. And it took me a long time to do that. And I've had those aha moments like you. I remember going on a holiday when the kids were young, and I had to do something. I thought I just had to dictate this thing, write these minutes, do something. And it ended up becoming quite complex. And I just, you know, by the end of the week, they were cranky at me for, you know, always be doing my work. I was cranky at them for making noise, even though it was their holiday. And then you have this aha moment and go, oh my goodness, what is going on? If you can't have time off, or if you can't, if you think you can't, and then who is making those decisions? And ultimately we're responsible for our own actions, and they are quite profound. So for you, let's backtrack then. Did you have your kids before or after you were studying to be a lawyer? How far into your career path?
Oh, right in the middle. Right in the middle. I had graduated from law school.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Just to make it a little bit more complicated. Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't have done it easy, Annie. I couldn't have just planned it. It couldn't have been smooth. So I started working at a new firm in downtown LA. It was the big fancy high-rise building, and I had a beautiful office overlooking all of downtown. And, I made it here. I was literally living my dream of being an attorney. I wanted to be an attorney since I was 6. And within the first year, I found out I was pregnant. And I wanted to start a family, and it wasn't like a surprise or an accident. I still don't know how people accidentally get pregnant, but that's a whole other conversation, a whole other time. And I remember, as equal as the joy was, I felt immense anxiety because I didn't know how I was going to be a good attorney, get great results, show my firm that I was just as good as my male counterparts, while I have this whole new road that I wanted to be on. And I'm going to have somebody who's going to rely on me. I remember the feeling, Annie, of almost like, oh my God, what have I done? And it was sad. Most people are like, this is amazing. I'm pregnant. This is going to be wonderful. I did feel that, but side by side, I felt like, oh my God, how am I going to?
Yeah, the reality kicks in.
Yeah, and the truth is, I didn't have the luxury of saying, I'm going to take the next 5 years off. I just didn't. I mean, I had to work, and I still had student loans that I had to pay back. And I knew I wanted to be a mother, but that anxiety was very real for me because I had set a certain expectation on myself that I have to be this great attorney and get great results for my clients, and to prove to my boss and my coworkers that being a woman means no less. So I had my first child and my second child right in the middle of my legal career.
Where do you think that anxiety came from for you? Was it because you had a stay-at-home mum and had a very different view of what the mum's role? Was it just yourself? You dreamt of being an attorney from the age of 6 and therefore wanted to be the best attorney possible, and then suddenly it is this reality of, well, how do I mix both? How do I be a really great mum and be an attorney at the same time?
It was completely self-imposed and self-inflicted, 100%. But I think as young professional women, we all have a little bit of that in us. We have a expectation that we want to meet. I mean, we're very driven, we're motivated. We want to go out and change the world. We want to be accomplished. We want to hit our goals. We want to, take it to the next level. I mean, nobody at my firm came and looked down on me and said, oh, you're bad because you're going to be a mother. I imposed that upon myself because, and it wasn't so much because my mother was a stay-at-home mom, because it was more of a generational thing.
Yeah.
Most of my friends' moms were stay-at-home moms, and all of us have turned out to be professionals. But for me, I mean, I take my career very seriously, and I worked very hard to get to where I am. And then suddenly there's this whole other aspect of, how am I going to do this? And it was 110% self-imposed.
And it's interesting too, if you look back then and look at your colleagues, male counterparts who may also have had a wife having a baby, no one probably mentioned that or asked how they're going to cope, or they probably, didn't have that same anxiety about, how's this going to affect me? It's just someone will manage. It's interesting how it becomes such a big issue for a woman.
Annie, it's funny you're mentioning that because, right now, I'm sure it's the same, where you are. I think it's probably true globally. Majority of the workforce is working from home.
Yeah.
And, I follow the trends and I read a lot on social media. I yet have to see, or I yet have to hear men complaining from working from home. It's fascinating. All the funny memes or the funny quotes or the funny images, are women, stirring the pot of pasta, one phone, and like a baby at her feet. It's constant. I'm wondering, how is this impacting men? And the point is, I don't know that it is, because back to your question, my male counterparts, even pre-pandemic and pre-COVID and 15 years ago when I was just pregnant, that concept was lost on them because it wasn't going to affect them. They weren't going to take maternity leave. They weren't going to have to figure out a transition into being off for 3 months or 6 months or a year and then coming back in, because their wife or their nanny or somebody else was, it was a very foreign concept. And flash forward 2020, I work with a lot of men, opposing counsel. I have a lot of men clients. I yet have to hear
hang on,
from home with children who are trying to do
just your internet, or the internet's just dropping out a little bit. Hang on, I'll just get you to repeat that. You just froze for a minute. Tell us about, you're yet to hear men. Carry on.
I yet have to hear any men complaining of how difficult it is to work from home and what challenges and struggles they're dealing with, because of the pandemic and everybody's working from home. The point I'm making is it hasn't changed in 15 years. When I was pregnant 15 years ago, nobody was worried about their wives having babies. And now the work from home, and like I said, all the social media, I yet have to see a father or men expressing the challenges they're facing. And maybe it's an ego thing. I don't know. Maybe they have a secret men's group that they all complain to each other, but I'm not seeing it.
I don't think so. I think it is. It's just a male way that is multi-generational of, they've been at work, and when they're at work, they're not distracted by other things. It's very much sort of compartmentalized of, well, if I'm here 9 to 5, 8 till 6, whatever it is, this is my sole focus, and life is set up in a certain way that those other issues, distractors, such as children, chores, shopping, whatever, are looked after. And that's not negative on men. It's just the way it is. And so therefore,
absolutely,
if you're that at work, then you don't, not worrying about if you've had a newborn, whatever. You might be more tired because it's cried all night, but it's not sort of becoming an issue. And then you go into COVID, and therefore they're probably still working that same way at home. If the kids are having IT issues or this or that, it's like someone's going to manage that because I'm at work. Whereas many women will be, that's right, while you're at work, you're also then going, which child is getting picked up, dropped off at school, or are they, having all these different aspects. Your mind is processing work and, motherhood and life. It's just the way that we have been for many generations, and it's still taking a long time to change that. And then when we now move into COVID, that's it. You're working from home and you've got a very big case happening, but you're still then multitasking the kids on all their devices and bits and pieces. So it's almost like women need to be given them permission for themselves to go, okay, well, how do I set up my life and my time to be able to say, when I am at work, I am focused, and I do set up this framework of, which is often support systems, you know, helping each other out other ways, whether you can afford a nanny or not, or sometimes it's just, I'll mind your kids and then you mind mine, or whatever the situation may be, to then go, don't make it so hard for yourself. You don't need to be this superhero, superwoman, crazed woman who's just doing everything, which is often the way we are. We just go, oh gosh, we just do it, can't stop.
Exactly.
And then you get angry at the world, but it's like, well, hello, what are we doing as women to stop that?
And if I can touch on one thing that you said, it's another thing that I talk to women's groups about is, personally for me, I was very stubborn and I did not want to ask for help. I mean, I'll just come clean.
Yeah.
Because I really believed that it was a reflection on my ability, on my success or failure as a woman, as a mother, as an attorney. So I had an ego. And again, this all goes back to young professional women. They're, you know, as much as they set that high expectation on themselves, that is fostered by an ego of, I got this, I can do this, and I can do it all. And I was that person for years and years until you know, the stress became too much. And then it started having a physical toll on me. And I realized, you know what? There's nothing wrong with getting help. If anything, asking for help is the best decision that I can make. And it's smart of me to do. And it's recognizing the needs of my family and of my career. It's not an indication or any type of a statement on my weakness. But I felt, you know, I used to wait for, you know, my kids did after school. That's just the way it is. I couldn't leave at 2:00 to pick one kid up from one school and 2:30 another kid from it. I just couldn't do it because I was busy being an attorney. And so they went to after school until 4:35 and I would have to pick them up. But I even remember driving from downtown to, you know, to where I live, which is about, you know, 20-minute drive. I was anxious and nervous and I wanted to get there quick and please don't let there be an accident. And God forbid it rained, you know, it's going to take me another 40 minutes. And I would get knots in my tummy because I wanted to get to after school so quickly because I wanted to be there for them. And I didn't want them to be the lost kids at school. So, you know, and then one day I realized I can just ask for one of my friends to give them a ride. And it was like this huge light bulb. Yeah. But what that meant was I needed to reach out to a friend and say, I need help. And I think a lot of women, I don't know if it's an ego or what it is, we are not comfortable with asking for help. And when it comes.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I definitely did that. I mean, I had 2 sets of twins in 2 years. So I had 4 kids in 26 months, right? So, but I still remember, and thank you, but I often still now look back and go, I must have been mental. Where did this come from? Because I remember occasionally someone would say, would you like me to make you a meal or would you like to do something? And I remember going, no, I'm fine. And I'm like, why was that?
Why do you think, Annie? Why? I'm curious to know. I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fascinating. I often reflect on that.
Why do you think that?
It took me about 10 years. And then after the kids were about 10, you know, they were about like 10 and 8. And then suddenly I realized, oh my gosh, I can't get them to, you know, this soccer match and that ballet class and this and that. I sort of just didn't have, they were always at the same time. And I'm like, oh, now I'm a bad mum because I can't be at both. And then suddenly I went, oh, I'll offer to do the dance run, someone else. And I then went and said, oh, there's this real ability to network and help each other here. Like, what a revelation. And before that, I then went and said, oh no, I can manage. It was like I was this superwoman, but I wasn't, because it was really hard. Like just juggling every day. You're so sleep deprived, and so much effort and all this sort of stuff. Why was my default? And I often think back because, yeah, I had a stay-at-home mom, or, you know, who they never had any help. And then I'm like going, well, you know, if I ask for help, you know, does that mean I'm not good enough or not capable enough. So I took it as a personal slant, even though anyone who knew me responded exactly the way you did, went, oh my gosh, how do you even get through your day? And so it was so crazy. And I'm thinking, if that was me, and I have been told by many women in those times, oh my gosh, you're like the worst scenario, so I'm thinking, well, why do other women, if I couldn't do it, I can see why they had this problem. And it was just such a weird, and I've often reflected on that. And now I'm passionate, obviously, like you are, about saying, ladies, give yourselves a break. It's not a failure. Accept help. People want to help you. If they're offering, they're happy to do so. And it's not a failure on you. It's actually saying, yeah, thanks for that. And of course, at another stage of our lives, we can then be there to give back and help others, abundantly. So, it's a very strange default behavior that I must admit my husband didn't have it. He'd go, oh yeah, sure, please bring a meal over. That'd be great. It's really interesting. Whereas I'd be like, oh no, they're busy. I don't want to bother them. It's just like this. We're real soldiers, aren't we? Like, it's like we're copers, soldiers, going, don't worry about little old me. I just want to show you I can do it all. Whereas, you can do it all in your own way, but what our own way is very different for different people, like that balance you were talking about now with your job and your kids, or depending on your affluence, or depending on your support systems. It's crazy. So thank you for interviewing me, Pauliana.
Yeah, no, I mean, with what you went through with 2 sets of twins in such a short amount of time, I think you fully understand all that goes into how a mother's psychology is. And, I think also when people ask for help, it's amazing how, the drive from my children's school at one time, when they both went to the same school, to my home was like less than 2 miles. It was like 1.5 miles. I could have asked anybody for a ride home. It would have taken 3 minutes. But no, the point I'm trying to make is that simple gesture, which would have taken a friend 5 minutes and it would have saved me so much anxiety and stress, my brain just couldn't function in the sense of, well, somebody can just drop the kids off at home and then I'll just leave at work, come home, and we can have a nice meal together. I had all these internal struggles of, well, if I don't pick the kids up, I'm going to be a bad mom and they're not going to be able to run to me and hug me because it's my friend or a stranger or a nanny, all these things and the kids are like, what are you talking about? We just want to go home and eat Cheetos. Like, who cares who picks us up? And like, you think it's
unpacking all of this. It's so crazy. That's right. If you suddenly got someone else to drop them home, you get home from work and they're like, hi, mom. Like, that's it. It's not deeper than that. They're not going, oh,
exactly.
You're a bad
but in our minds, it's like, like the world's worst thing. Like, I'm a bad mommy. I should have a big M with a slash through it on my chest because I suck as a mom. And the kids are, eating gummy bears when you get home. I'm like, hey, lady, how's it going? So.
That's right. Oh my goodness. I think this is such a great conversation to have, because we can just vent. By the way, those ladies, as you're listening to this, don't feel bad. We've all been there. It's our opportunity to reflect on this, and to reflect on, that's right, the anxiety, the unnecessary pressures, the expectations that we put on ourselves, and that's it. You're on one way, you go, yep, make it a joke. Yeah, I'm an epic fail. I'm not very good at picking my kids up from school, but I'm actually a very capable, confident woman. I juggle being an attorney and having a beautiful relationship with my kids, and I'm able to do all of these things, and that's enough. It's crazy. You don't have to be brilliant at everything. You can actually say, well, what situation how can I frame my life to actually get the best out of, as many aspects as possible.
Annie, along that point, each woman and each of your audience members, and again, whoever else hears this, they have to get to that realization on their own.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Me telling them sounds great in theory, but I know that a young woman listening out there is going to say, you know what, Pauliana and Annie, that's great. I can do it. And encourage them and I support them. And all I can say is go for it 100%. But if it gets to the point where you're not enjoying your life because you're such a stress case and you're getting physically ill, or you're having mental health issues because the I got this covered isn't really working out the way you thought, remember this conversation and get help and talk to your friends and carve out, even if it's 30 minutes of alone time. I don't care what you do during those 30 minutes. I don't care if it's yoga, if it's taking a bath, if it's watching trashy TV, if it's painting your nails, whatever it is, because your mental health and your physical health comes above all of it. You know, because if you're not in a good mental place, guess what? You're not going to be a very good mother.
Yeah. Everything unravels.
You're not going to be a very good attorney, dentist, business owner, fill in the blank. But we forget about that. And we push that down and to the side. I don't have time to relax. I don't have, if I put 30 minutes and, you know, do yoga, I'm going to fall behind on laundry and cooking and emails and making birthday invitations. But guess what? All of that is going to be there still. But that 30-minute break for your mental well-being and that download and disconnect and detachment brings so much value to you as a person. And it impacts how you react and interact with your children or your boss or your neighbor, your spouse, your community. But for years, I neglected that because I'm like, oh, I don't have time. I've got all this to do. And then one day I was like, oh my God, what happened to me?
It's exhausting.
I know. But I think we do that and we feel guilty. I know I struggled with guilt. I remember wanting to be so quick to take a shower just to get back out and, you know, do the 18,000 things that I had to do in the shower. You know, like I've got friends who are like, oh, I take baths. I'm like, how do you take a bath? I remember thinking, you're crazy. How do you take a bath? I wouldn't even know how to sit still in a bath for 15 minutes. But I realized it's not the bath. It's the mental break and the recharge and the detachment that makes you such a fuller, better mother, attorney, wife, sister, neighbor, whatever it is. And we need that.
Yeah. We need it so much. And I agree with what you said. You know, we've got to all do it in our own time. And a lot of it is just becoming a little bit more self-aware. You know, my instant next question is, well, how do we help the next generation of women become better at this? You know, and I think it's not saying, hey, ladies, you know, don't behave this way. Don't have mummy guilt. Don't have this anxiety. That's actually not correct. It's actually saying, you know, keep trying to work out what your balance is but be a bit more self-aware. Pick up earlier on those signs of, am I stressed? Am I anxious? Am I racing too much? Am I, you know, when does that happen? And then of those things, what things could I then, you know, give away, substitute with someone else, do some bartering, you know, make it happen the best for me so that we can find our own balance. I think that's what it is. It's actually, and that will look very different for every person.
Oh, absolutely. You know, like one of the first things we talked about is to have a better relationship with time. You know, I started practicing this habit of when I came home and when I was with the kids, you know, like 9 to 5, I was an attorney. I didn't do social media. I was really focused, very productive, very driven. So 8:30, if I had a hearing, you know, 8:30 to 5, I was an attorney. I banged out work product, talked to clients, did my hearings, did everything. I didn't spend time shopping for booties for the kids or finding the best haircut and all that other stuff. And that same discipline held true when I came home. So from 5 to 9, it was mommy time. I didn't check emails. I didn't take client calls. I didn't log on to do a quick little research. And it was very challenging and very difficult because I'm very type A. I'm very dedicated. Again, I worked very hard to get to where I am. And I had to untrain myself. And I am that crazy person because when the kids would go to bed, I had to log back in. I just had to see what happened from 5 to 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I don't like surprises. What fire can I put out by tomorrow morning? Do I have a surprise pop-up deadline? Do I have a client that just told me this horrible thing happened to her while I was making spaghetti? And so I have to, and that's okay, because the kids are in bed. I spent quality time with them, went to the baseball game, did the ballet class, whatever it was that I had to do. And I felt very fulfilled. I got that solid block of time with the kids. We watched a TV show, we had ice cream, whatever we did. I felt so good about myself. And then when they went to bed, and because I'm totally neurotic and insane, I just had to see what happened. What happened? And sometimes nothing happened. And then I could breathe and then go do dishes and laundry and plan the next day's meal or the date. But it fulfilled that little anxiety in me. And then if something happened, if I had to do something before 8:30 in the morning, I had a little window.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to train yourself. And so to answer your question of what I could tell the younger generation is back to have a better relationship with time. And Annie, the truth is they grow so fast. I know that sounds very cliche.
I know.
But it's true.
So
when I speak, I do this thing, and one of my subject things is 7th grade isn't cute. I mean, it's really not. When my kids were in elementary, it was so cute, and they had the holiday parties, and then you could volunteer and do all this. And I decided I wasn't going to miss all that because it flies. And then when my son started 7th grade, it was like, bye, just drop off. No fun, cute things that I could go and participate. And I was like, wow. And so I'm so thankful that I did those things with him, kinder through 6th, because 7th grade, not cute. 7th grade is not cute.
I know you lose them for a while, but then the great thing is they then come back again. And I'm at the other end. My twins are now 29 and 27, and I have a granddaughter, and it's just it's you sort of go through relationships. So it's pretty gorgeous. And gee, does that time go quickly? Because still in my mind, it's like I still remember, going off to infant school and doing all of those different stages. And at the time it feels like, oh my gosh, when is this stage going to finish? And then unfortunately you sometimes want to rush that. And then now I'm like, oh, treasure those moments. They're so.
But Annie, so exactly what you said. And for your audience, those memories are going to be with you forever. But if you miss that, like for me, I don't think I remember what hearing I had that day, but I remember the look on my daughter's face when I surprised her and I went to the book fair.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, she literally looked up and was like, you're here. I mean, I remember that. And it was like 3rd grade.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what client I talked to. I don't remember what case I was working on. And that is the fulfillment and the joy.
Exactly.
But you have to reprogram your brain and discipline yourself so that you can excel at both. Because both hats, if you will, are important to wear. And you have to look good and feel good wearing both hats. So.
And I think I do a lot of work in my coaching program with women on what they value, for that same reason that, no one gets to the end of their career and they retire and go, gee, I remember every single moment of work, or I wish I worked, I'm so glad I worked those few extras hours more. What they will have is they'll go, oh, that's right. Those moments, which I get now at my age, I look back and go, oh, I still remember, the moment you were there and they scored a goal, or you turned up at book week and they wave at you because mum's there. And I love the way both of us, they go, they're surprised you're there. Because we obviously weren't all the time. It's like, oh, guest appearance. But hey, I declared that one was an important one. We'd struggled over that outfit. I was going to go and see them be whatever. And then it's those moments that you go, yeah, but that's because, we value it. So if you do have those values, you value your children, you value the time, you value, we'll all have different perspectives on that and influences, but getting clarity around that definitely affects how you then invest in your time, because that's it. Can you do it all? Some people say, yes, I'll go and say, I don't know if you can do it all, but you can do the things that you value. You can do the things that you want to achieve, within the right balance. But there will be some things that, you possibly could do it all, but you're not going to do them well, so it is all time, isn't it?
Exactly. But one other thing, Annie, it all also depends on what all is.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're never, have I made it to every single, okay, I have made it to every single book fair. Let's pick another example of, I've never missed a chorus performance. I've never missed any drama or theater performance they did. I mean, have I missed a Halloween party? Maybe, but it had to be for a good reason. Have I had to have some people help me on a case? Maybe. So the definition of all is very important too.
Yes.
You can't do every single thing either professionally or as a parent, because there's just not enough time in the day. And I'm one person, I cannot be in two places at one time. So that's where the help part comes back into play too. If I have a hearing the same time my daughter has a performance at school, I got to get help, because there's going to be 4,000 hearings, but there's going to be one 4th grade play. If I don't go to the hearing, my client's case isn't going to suffer. But if I don't go to my daughter's play, I'm going to suffer. And I think deep down, she would be sad too, to look in the audience and see everybody else's mother and not hers. And I think that impacts children.
Yeah, it definitely impacts them. And also for those dads out there, there are many, many dads who are actually taking that time out themselves, to go and drop them off at school and to make time to attend those special moments, so there's
absolutely
a generation of many who go, yeah, absolutely, I'll do all that I can. And I think that's such a wonderful thing that we should be encouraging. We should be encouraging, both genders to actually go, well, what are the important moments? I do that with my staff. I go and say, just tell me what are the important ones. If it's orientation at kindergarten or the book week, they've just had the book week. We all stumble over the book week. Or if it's a sports carnival,
book week.
If it's grandparent day, but they don't have a grandparent, so you really don't want them to have no one. So you still want to go. Whatever it is, I go, as a female boss, I want to go and say, please tell me up front, because I don't want you to be sitting at work miserable because you've missed this moment. If we can be flexible, and there are times that you can't. You might be, your work requirements might be, this is a massive moment and it's just not going to work out. So we can't be ridiculous in our expectations, but we certainly can be really flexible. And it just amazed me on how flexible I can be as a boss, and how the benefit and the value that it gives to my team when they get those moments. Because, I would have loved them, back in the day, I would have loved to have had that, if I was working in the city, and to be able to say, I really would love to have been at my kid's school today, if you had
God. But Annie, to also address that point for employers who are listening too, to the extent that it's not going to affect your business or your bottom line, be supportive of your parent employees. If somebody wants to come in an hour late because it's their daughter's performance for 4th grade, and depending on their work history and their productivity, encourage them, because when they come back at 10:30, they're so good, they feel so good, and they're so happy that they got to do their personal thing, and they want to do good for you.
Exactly.
They want to almost reward their boss for being so understanding and so supportive. Somebody interviewed me once and asked, what one of the challenges was. And I have to be honest, I got into the story of my boss's secretary basically told on me because I was concerned that that daycare called and my daughter was sick. And she was a mother. Her children were older. And I remember to this day the feeling I got when my boss came to me and said, "Oh, I heard your daughter was sick." And I thought, why would you know that my daughter was coughing at daycare? And it was because his secretary, like I said, basically told on me.
Mm.
And so the pressures of the workplace can be tremendous.
Mm.
So I'm very happy to hear you as a woman boss have that understanding and can offer that support to your team so that they can go out and be loving, supporting parents. Because, you know, we started off with me saying I put that expectation on myself, but the work environment also has to be supported.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You know, and so, yeah, it really ties very closely to the expectations you have on yourself. I mean, if you're afraid to ask your boss for time off to go watch your daughters play because you're going to get reprimanded or you're going to get fired or you're not going to get the projects anymore, that is a whole other level of stress and anxiety, you know, because you don't want to lose your job or you don't want to look like the jerk who missed your daughter's performance.
Exactly. And that's a joy for me. As a female boss, it's twofold, isn't it? So on one hand, I go and say, please tell me. I can't guarantee every time, but make sure you let me know, give as much notice and what you want to go to and why. And if I can make it happen, do that. And then also then, you know, if I can customize your hours, you know, wherever possible, you know, it's interesting how we thought that was so difficult. And now we've been through COVID. Now it's like, oh, everything's so flexible, right? So it really has changed the world. But even before COVID, you know, that's right. If you need to do 10 till 6 or something, just because you want to drop your kids off at school, well, you're going to have I've always found that it comes back, you know, not that it has to, but the staff are so thankful. They've got a great sense of gratitude and they'll always be appreciative and work just as hard, if not harder, because of those benefits. And so flexi time, making those sorts of things, I'm all for it. Absolutely.
That's great to hear. That really makes me happy to hear from you. So that's great.
So just to finish then, this is Memoirs of Successful Women. So what does a successful woman look like to you then? What is success?
If I could sum it up in one word, honestly, it would be fulfilled. Everybody measures success with a different tool. You know, I don't measure success by the number of cases I've won. I measure success by the gratitude and what my clients feel. The thank you emails that I get, or the piece of paper that comes back from a judge giving me what I wanted for my client. That fulfills me professionally. Success as a mother is, as my children are getting older, that connection and that closeness. You know, I have a teenage son who still comes and gives me bear hugs and gives me a kiss on the forehead and I melt. And he's a teenage boy. You know, a lot of them don't do that. A lot of them are like, drop me off 2 blocks away, don't hug me, don't come around my friends, you know. So for me, that is what success looks like as a mother. You know, it's the same kind of thing with my daughter who says, you know, Mom, I can't wait to just come snuggle with you. And I'm like, oh, you know, I have succeeded as a mother.
Yeah.
That's what it means, like, you know, to me. And to also to travel with the kids. And so something will come up and my daughter will say, oh, Mom, you remember that restaurant we went to in New York and the guy was playing the sitar? And I'm like, wow, I created a memory for her. And that was like 5 years ago that she still, that memory is triggered and I'm a part of that memory for her. And so that is the definition of success to me so far.
That is priceless. I love that. I love that, you know, now that we've got adult children and when they come and they share around the table at a special occasion or we have a visitor and they want to share the story of some great holiday. It's always a holiday or an event or something that we did together. And sometimes it was because we did something totally goofy or stupid or we got lost or, you know, it doesn't have to be, that's right. We get so worried about the perfect, but sometimes it's just actually just doing life. The fact, and it's all about time, as we've talked about a lot today. It's spending time together. It's doing life together, you know, in ways. And that's it for those who are just sort of so busy, you know, and we all get so so busy. Sometimes you can also go, you don't have to have long slabs. It's just dropping in, it's actually having regular times that there's, that you can enjoy, you can commit to, like you were saying, putting your phone down and technology down for a certain period of time. It's just a discipline. Like we have other disciplines of, going to the gym or doing, doing our shopping. It's like, no, this is my family time. This is that time for me. It's all just habits that we put in with intent. And I'm big on intentional action because of what we value at the end of the day. So it's been such a delight to have you on my program today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
My absolute pleasure, Annie. It was very, very enjoyable to have this conversation with you. So thank you so much for having me as a guest.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes and, of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.